Throughout history, there have been countless individuals who have claimed to be prophets of God, spreading His word and performing miracles in His name. But what happens when those very people end up committing terrible deeds? The consequences can be dire, not only for themselves, but also for those around them. Today, we will explore the stories of 5 infamous figures who dared to mock God and suffered tragic fates as a result. 1. Simon Magus, the sorcerer of Samaria. In the early days of Christianity, there was a man named Simon Magus, also known as Simon the Sorcerer. He was a practitioner of magic and sorcery who lived in the ancient city of Samaria, which is located in modern-day Israel. It all started when Simon met the Apostle Peter and saw him performing miracles instead of repenting and believing in God. Simon decided to mock him. He offered Peter money in exchange for the ability to perform miracles himself, so that he could gain power and influence over the people of Samaria. However, Peter refused and told Simon that he could not buy the gift of miracles. Enraged by this, Simon began to mock Christianity and even tried to curse Peter. But Peter prayed to God for protection, and God answered by striking Simon with blindness. Simon then confessed his sins and repented, and Peter prayed for him to be healed. After this, Simon became one of the first preachers of Christianity in Samaria and helped many people to believe in Jesus Christ. 2. Mary, Queen of Scots. Mary, Queen of Scots, was a 16th century monarch who ruled over Scotland for nearly her entire life. She was born on December 8th and ascended to the throne at the age of just 6 days old after the death of her father, King James V of Scotland. Mary's childhood was marked by political turmoil, and she spent much of her early life in France, where she was raised at the French royal court. In 1565, she returned to Scotland and married her cousin, Lord Darnley, with whom she had a son named James. However, the marriage was troubled and Darnley was murdered in 1567, leading Mary to marry her son's nurse, the Italian-born This marriage was unpopular and seen as a disgrace to the Scottish people, and after Mary was forced to abdicate the throne in favor of her son, she spent the last 19 years of her life imprisoned by her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I of England. On February 8, 1589, after 24 years of captivity, Mary, Queen of Scots, was finally executed on the orders of Elizabeth. Some historians believe that Mary's execution was a necessary evil to protect the security of the newly established Protestant order in England. Others argue that it was a brutal and merciless act that tarnished the reputation of the English monarchy. 3. Nero. Nero was the 5th Roman emperor, ruling from AD 54 to AD 68. He is infamous for his cruelty, extravagance, and tyranny, as well as for his alleged persecution of Christians. Born into the Julio-Claudian dynasty, Nero was notorious for his sadistic behavior, which included torturing and killing both men and women. Despite being married to Poppaea Sabina, he openly kept a male lover named Pythe, who he chained up during sexual intercourse. After Poppaea died, Nero married his own mother, Agrippina the Younger, which led to the assassination of his stepsister, Julia, who was also his wife. When the Praetorian Guard threatened civil war unless he divorced his mother, Nero had her killed and married a former slave named He hosted feasts, inviting 8 men of only one type, bald, short, or fat. Nero chained these men to chariots, like horses, and whipped them as they pulled him around. He delighted in throwing gold coins from a tower, enjoying the sight of common folk fighting over the riches. Nero mocked the gods and made light of religion. He chained priests to chariots like horses and flogged them as they pulled him around. During his reign, Rome experienced devastating fires that left 80% of the city in ruins. Nero exploited the disaster to confiscate property and rebuild the imperial palace, Domus Aurea, which became a symbol of his excesses and cruelty. Ultimately, Nero's own grandmother, Julia Maesa, had him assassinated in a D-68 for CL, German Asen war criminal. CL Uber was a prominent German fighter pilot and one of the most successful air aces of World War I, credited with shooting down 15 planes and 15 balloons. Born in 1890 in Pomerania, Uber joined the German Air Service in 1912 and rose to prominence during the war, earning the Pour le Mérite, the highest order of merit in Prussia. However, he was later involved in several controversial incidents, including the bombing of undefended Belgian towns and hospitals. After the armistice, Uber became a fighter pilot for the German army and participated in the Kapp-Coup, a failed attempt to overthrow the Weimar Republic in 1920. Disillusioned with Germany's defeat in World War I and the political situation at home, he emigrated to Russia in 1923, where he joined the Russian Air Force and became an instructor at a pilot school. During World War II, Uber served as a military attaché in the German embassy in Moscow and was arrested by the NKVD in 1941 after the German invasion of the Soviet Union. He was accused of espionage and shot by the Soviets in 1945. Uber's story is a reminder that the line between heroism and villainy is often thin, and that even the most celebrated figures can fall from grace. 5. Gilles de Rais, French Army commander. Gilles de Rais was a French army commander who played a significant role in the 100 Years' War, but is also infamous for his brutal crimes against children. Born into a noble family in 1404, de Rais rose to prominence as a military leader, fighting alongside Joan of Arc to lift the English siege of Orleans in 1429. He continued to serve in the French army, capturing several towns from the English and accumulating great wealth. However, after suffering a defeat in 1440, de Rais fell into financial difficulties and began to seek alternative sources of income. He turned to the brutal exploitation of young boys, whom he kidnapped, tortured, mutilated, and murdered. Arrested in 1440 and charged with heresy, sodomy, and murder, de Rais was found guilty and sentenced to death. He was burned alive in 1440 at the age of 36, leaving behind a legacy of military valor and unspeakable atrocities. These are just a few examples of people who dared to mock God and face tragic consequences. It serves as a reminder that no matter how powerful or influential we may be, we should always remember to respect and honor the divine. Now let me ask you, do you know of any other historical figures who could have been included in this list? Share your thoughts below. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something new. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, so that you never miss out on our latest videos. Catch you in the next one.